do you have a moment in your career where you thought, this is the most difficult ethical conundrum I've ever faced, and I just have no idea what to do?
Oh, I've had a number of those moments. You know, the way you phrase that question is quite important, because I've faced a number of conundrums and points in my career where my decisions were based on what some would deem an ethical challenge. You know, I grew up a Catholic school girl, okay? And I'm one of those households where what was taught was how my family lived. You do the right thing. And so I've made decisions where some would have said I was too cautious. I always stay on the right side of the line. I smile because early in my career, I had a very powerful politician say to me, Ertharin, you can be powerful and seek to make a difference and through policy change and working with elected offices, or you can be rich. And it's very difficult to do both, if not impossible, and stay out of jail and stay on the side of the line. And I've always lived my life that way. I don't make, making decisions where I am making a decision about how my organization will invest and I have a possibility of some personal gain, then I don't make that decision. I don't.
It's right here, so where your true north comes from, because some people aren't really sure. I mean, they the leaders I'm interviewing, they all really want to do the right thing, so to speak. But you clearly have sort of in your upbringing, a true north in your Catholic school education. But can you give an example of a time where you just genuinely didn't know what to do, or whether after the fact with 2020 hindsight, you said, maybe I should have gone a different route?
Yeah, I can give you an example. When I was executive director of the World Food Program, we were running out of money for the hunger response activities in Syria. And I had a donor that I expected to receive support from at the very last minute say no. And I had kept feeding people. And I've kept feeding people even when I knew I didn't have enough money to pay the bills. And some would have said that was inappropriate and verging on fraud on my part. But it was a decision that I made knowing the world would come through. And it wasn't probably the right decision to make because the world didn't come through. And so what it required me to do then was at the very last minute to just turn off the food and make an announcement to the world that we were no longer going to feed people in Syria. And some would have said if I had made the right decision, which was cutting the food in half so that I could have made it last longer, then I could have fed people longer. But by making that decision to keep feeding people, which I believed was the right thing to do, I put my organization in jeopardy. But at the same time, I then went to the world and told them what I was doing and made a plea for people around the world instead of government. 98% of the resources for WFP come from government.
Right, it's a UN organization, right.
And so I made a plea then to people for help. We did a campaign called $1 for Syria. And it was a multimedia campaign on the internet. We got support from news stations across the globe covered our challenge. And what happened as a result of that was people made demands on their governments to help us.
And so did the governments come through in the end?
They did.
Okay. Well, that was a very clever strategy. I have to say, I very much appreciate your transparency. And